is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure.
Welcome to Photo Master Coach. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about shutter speed. Sometimes people don't quite understand what shutter speed is about, but here again, it's relatively simple, and it's one of those major tools, like the aperture, that you need to know about. And by understanding the characteristics of shutter speed, you'll make better pictures, and you'll be able to create more things and, think of more things to do, because the shutter speed can be extremely creative at times. So again, let me say this about shutter speed. It is a product of what we physically do with our eyes already. The camera is simply mimicking an aspect of what we can do visually, mechanically, and help to portray that onto the image. So, all right, let's get started with this. Now, this is pretty simple. Now, you figure with shutter speed, they divide a second. Let's just start with a second. Now, it goes longer. It'll go for 2, 4, 8, 16 seconds, and all that. Okay, but we're going to start at a second and just explain this. Okay, this is real simple because everything is doubled or halved in photography. The aperture numbers, the shutter speed numbers, ISO readings, all of it. Unless you have your camera set on third stops rather than half stops. Okay, so you have a second exposure. In other words, your camera is on and off in a second, and you can test your shutter speed. I do by saying 1/1000, 2, and that shutter should last and close when you say 2. Okay, that being said, a half second exposure is exactly that. It's a half of that second exposure. When you get into what they say a little 4, that means a quarter of a second. It's only, you divide, into quarters. Divide a second into halves and then now into quarters. Well, it's only 1/4 of that time. So you wouldn't say, 1/1002, you would only get to 1, something like that. Anyway, okay. And then you have an 1/8 of a second, little 8. Well, that's an 1/8 of that second. They've divided it up into 8 parts, and that's it. And a 16th, or then it starts going up from a 30th to a 60th to a 125. I mean, there's a little bit of skip in there, to 250, 500, and 1,000, 2,000, 400. I mean, 4,000. Most cameras don't get much higher than that. Okay, so what happens is when that shutter speed is open and is closed, there's things that happen in front of the camera that will either be dead stopped or they'll start showing signs of movement the longer that shutter is open. Okay, like if you're doing sports of any type, you want fast shutter speed because it'll stop that guy running in a heartbeat. 500th of a second will basically stop anything in midair. Okay. 250, stop just about everything too, unless it's like flying by you. 1/25th will stop a runner, for instance. At a 60th, you're going to start getting a little movement. 30th, a little more movement. 15th of a second, even more. By now, see, you're getting movement from your hands, just holding the camera itself.
We now return control of your television set to you. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set.